Country's ready-made garments export earns to $19 billion during the 6 months of the anti-discrimination student movement and political turmoil. The growth enhanced to 13.28%, says EPB. Bangladesh receives a total of 263 crore 90 lakh US dollars as remittance in December last, which is the record in country's history. Cold waves sweeping over 6 places of the country. The ongoing cold spell likely to continue throughout the week, says Met Office. Ignoring cold weather on the weekly holiday, viewers throng the Dhaka International Trade Fair. Industries Advisor inaugurated Chottogram's first ever expressway named after Shahid Wasim Akram, the first martyr in Chattogram during July-August uprising. 71 people killed in 34 Israeli airstrikes in the 24 hours at Gaza in Palestine. And on the first match of the day of BPL cricket, Chittagong Kings defeat Darbar Rajshahi by a big margin of 105 runs. Assalamu alaikum viewers, this is News at 10 on BTV and BTV World. I'm Imtiaz Ahmed Siddiqui. You just heard the headlines. Let's move on to the details of those and other stories. In the 6 months of the anti-discrimination movement and political upheaval, Bangladesh exported ready-made garments worth of $19 billion. According to Bangladesh Export Promotion Bureau, the country saw a growth of 13.28% in garments export earning during that time. Bangladesh exported 1,988 crore and 77 lakh dollars of ready-made garments in 6 months between July and December in 2024-25 fiscal year. The volume was 1,755 crore 69 lakh and $20,000 during the same period of the previous fiscal year. Insiders say the USA-China trade war and Bangladesh's democratic transition are the causes behind it. The US buyers think that the trade war between the USA and China will intensify after Donald Trump enters the White House as president on January 20. Following the reality, many US buyers shifting their purchase orders to Bangladesh from China. As a result, Bangladeshi exporters are busy to handle the additional purchase orders. Experts say Bangladesh will get benefits from the buyers leaving China, as no other countries have the capacity to grab such a huge purchase order. Bangladesh received 263 crore and 90 lakh dollars remittance in last December, the highest in the country's history. Earlier in July of 2020, the country received a record 259 crore and 82 lakh dollars. According to the latest data of Bangladesh Bank, in 2024, Bangladesh received approximately $28 billion of remittance, which is 22% more than that of the previous year. In 2023, the country received $21.92 billion of remittance. The current weather conditions are likely to persist over the week. Meteorologist Khondokar Hafizur Rahman of Bangladesh Meteorological Department said this at a press conference at the Met Office at Agargaon in Dhaka today. Mild cold wave is sweeping over Rangpur Division and Rajshahi, Pabna, Bogura, Naugaon and Kushtia districts. The country's lowest temperature today was recorded 8.3 degrees Celsius at Tetulia, while the lowest temperature in Dhaka was recorded 13.6 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, weather forecast till 6 p.m. tomorrow says weather may remain dry with temporary partly cloudy sky over the country. Moderate to dense fog may occur over the country during midnight to morning, and it may continue at places till noon. Air navigation, inland river transport and road communication may disrupt temporarily due to the dense fog, said the Met Office. Dhaka International Trade Fair got momentum on weekly holiday today. Many people thronged at the fair with family members, ignoring the cold. Traders and visitors said Dhaka International Trade Fair is the largest show of Bangladesh's products. They stressed the need for ensuring quality of products to attract buyers from home and abroad. Toll collection on Chottogram's first elevated expressway began today. The expressway has been renamed in honor of Wasim Akram, a martyr of the July mass uprising in Chattogram. Industries advisor Adilur Rahman Khan inaugurated the toll collection system in the morning. He said the interim government is naming various establishments across the country to present the memory of the martyrs of July and August to the future generations. The 17-kilometer expressway from Lalkhan Bazar to Potenga was constructed to improve connectivity and boost the regional economy. Transport drivers said that now they will be freed from suffering as the traffic has started on the expressway. The speed limit on Martyr Wasim Akram Expressway has been fixed at 60 kilometers per hour. However, many drivers demanded to increase it up to 80 kilometers. BNP Secretary General Mirza Fakhrul Islam Alamgir has said $280 billion was smuggled abroad during the last 15 years' rule of fascist Awami League government. He said this at the 50-year founding anniversary of Economics Department of Dinajpur Government College today. Teachers and students of Dinajpur Government College and local elites were present on the occasion. The BNP Secretary General further said now scope has been created to build the country anew. Now international news. Gaza's government media office said Israel carried out horrific crimes over the previous 24 hours, with 34 airstrikes that killed 71 civilians across the Palestinian enclave. At least 5 Palestinians have been killed in an Israeli attack overnight on a residential home in the Nusayrat refugee camp in central Gaza. Another 5 Palestinians have been killed and others injured in an Israeli attack near the entrance of Gaza City's Al-Shifa hospital. Palestinian human rights group al-Haq said Israel's forced evacuation orders in Gaza are designed to facilitate attacks on the enclave's population, including in so-called humanitarian safe zones. The United Nations has denounced the targeting of Gaza's hospitals, saying that medical facilities need to be off-limits to military attacks and incursions. Meanwhile, humanitarian teams from the United Nations and the World Health Organization finally arrived in northern Gaza after months of being denied entry by the Israeli military. They said they observed hospitals in ruins and thousands of people without water, food or sanitation. Israel's war on Gaza has killed at least 45,658 Palestinians and wounded 108,583 since October 7, 2023. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has approved sending a delegation to Qatar to continue the Gaza hostage and ceasefire negotiations, his office announced on Thursday. Professional-level representatives from the Israel Security Agency ISA and Israel Defense Forces IDF and Israel's foreign intelligence agency known as Mossad will travel to the Qatari capital of Doha for the talks, the statement said. Indirect talks between Israel and Hamas have carried out even as official negotiations have been deadlocked for months as the administration of US President Joe Biden pushed for a deal to be reached. A diplomatic source familiar with the matter told CNN in December that the deal is broadly the same as the proposal put forth by Biden earlier in 2024. The three-phase Biden proposal in late May paired a release of hostages held in Gaza with a full and complete ceasefire. South Korean investigators have called off an attempt to arrest suspended President Yoon Suk Yeol after a dramatic 6-hour standoff with the security team outside his home. Corruption Investigation Office (CIO) said, which has been investigating Yoon's short-lived martial law declaration, they have determined that the arrest is practically impossible. Next steps will be decided after review, the CIO said, adding that Yoon's refusal of the legal process is deeply regrettable. Yoon's supporters, who have been camped out in front of the presidential residence for days, cheered in song and dance as the suspension was announced. "We won," they chanted. The CIO said that concern for the safety of the team on the ground was another factor on their decision to call off the attempted arrest. Investigators have until 6 January to arrest Yoon before the current warrant expires. They can, however, apply for a new warrant and try to detain him again. Before the attempt was stood down, Yoon's security team told the news agency they had been in negotiation with the investigators who sought to access the president. Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico has threatened to cut financial support to more than 130,000 Ukrainian refugees as a dispute with Ukraine over Russian gas supplies escalates. On 1 January, Kyiv shut off a pipeline that for decades was used to supply Central Europe with Russian natural gas. Slovakia had been the main entry point, and the country now stands to lose millions of euros in transit fees. The United Nations Refugee Agency UNHCR estimated last month that there were 130,530 Ukrainian refugees in Slovakia out of 68,13,900 globally. Fico, who is in December made a surprise visit to Moscow for talks with Russia's President Vladimir Putin, described Kyiv's move as sabotage. The Prime Minister of the EU state said he would propose halting electricity exports to Ukraine and also sharply reducing financial support for Ukrainians who have found shelter in Slovakia. He said there was no risk of Slovakia itself suffering from gas shortages, as it had already made alternative arrangements. But Fico added that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's decision to turn off the taps would deprive Slovakia of 500 million euros in transit fees from other countries. 2 people have died and 18 others were injured after a small plane crashed into a commercial building in Southern California, officials say. 10 people were taken to hospital with injuries, the Fullerton Police Department said in a post on X on Thursday afternoon. 8 others were treated for injuries and released at the scene. The single-engine Vence RF-10 crashed at 2015 GMT. According to the Federal Aviation Administration, officials have provided no further details about how the crash occurred. It is unclear whether the 2 people who died were workers or were on board the plane. Police say they are evacuating buildings in the area and are asking the public to stay away from the crash site. In the latest escalation of trade tensions between the world's 2 largest economies, China on Thursday announced export control measures targeting 28 U.S. companies and added 10 U.S. companies to a list of entities barred from doing business in China. The larger group of companies is made up primarily of first active in defense contracting and includes Lockheed Martin and 5 of its subsidiaries, General Dynamics and 3 of its subsidiaries, 3 subsidiaries of Raytheon and subsidiary of Boeing, and more than a dozen other companies. Chinese companies are immediately barred from selling dual-use items, goods that may have a military purpose in addition to civilian applications, to any of the named companies. In an announcement, the Chinese Ministry of Commerce said the sanctions were put in place in order to safeguard national security interests and fulfill international obligations such as non-proliferation. Back to home news. The market has a sufficient supply of winter vegetables. The price of vegetables is also decreasing compared to before. Besides, the price of potato, onion and sugar has also decreased, but the price is not going down even though there is a supply of fresh rice. Chicken is also more expensive. Retailers, meanwhile, claimed that after the price increase, companies stopped supplying edible oil. Consumers want strict measures should be taken to curb price manipulation alongside normalizing the supply of essential commodities. And now, sports news. Chittagong Kings defeated Darbar Rajshahi by 105 runs in the first match of the day of BPL today. Chittagong Kings batted first and scored 219 runs for 5 in their stipulated 20 overs at the Sher-e-Bangla National Cricket Stadium in Mirpur. Usman Khan scored 123 runs off 62 balls with 13 fours and 6 sixes. This is the first century in this year's tournament. In reply, Darbar Rajshahi were all out for 114 runs in 17 overs, 1 ball. Usman Khan was adjudged man of the match. Meanwhile, Dhaka Capitals are now batting against Khulna Tigers with a victory target of 174 runs. Dhaka Capitals scored 63 runs for 6 wickets in 12 overs when report last came in. Earlier, Khulna Tigers scored 173 runs for 8 in their stipulated 20 overs. Australia are trailing by 176 runs against India at stumps of the first day of the 5th and final test in Sydney. At the end of the day, the Aussies scored 9 runs for 1 wicket in the first innings. Earlier, India won the toss and elected to bat first. In the first innings of this test, the tourists suffered a batting disaster. They were all out for just 185 runs. The highest 40 runs came from Rishabh Pant's bat. For Australia, Scott Boland took 4 wickets, Mitchell Starc 3 and Pat Cummins 2 wickets. Australia were leading the series 2-1. To end the bulletin, headlines once again. Country's ready-made garments export earns to $19 billion during the 6 months of the anti-discrimination student movement and political turmoil. The growth enhanced to 13.28%, says EPB. Bangladesh receives a total of 263 crore 90 lakh US dollars as remittance in December last, which is the record in country's history. Cold wave sweeping over 6 places of the country. The ongoing cold spell likely to continue throughout the week, says Met Office. Ignoring cold weather on the weekly holiday, viewers throng the Dhaka International Trade Fair. Industries Advisor inaugurated Chottogram's first ever expressway named after Shahid Wasim Akram, the first martyr in Chattogram during July-August uprising. "71 people killed in 34 Israeli air attacks in 24 hours at Gaza in Palestine." And on the first day of the match of BPL cricket, Chittagong Kings defeated Darbar Rajshahi by a big margin of 105 runs. And that's all from the newsroom for the moment. Thank you for being with us. We invite you to watch our 11:30 Bangla News. Until then, Allah Hafiz.